On the road to Macstock with Brittany Smith. This is MacVoices. MacVoices is supported by our Patreon subscribers. Get access to the MacVoices Slack, the MacVoices Discord, MacVoices After Dark, and have your name listed at the end of each episode of MacVoices. Sign up at patreon.com/MacVoices. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, yet again, we are on the road to Macstock. We are headed for Crystal Lake, Illinois in July. We hope you will join us because we're going to have a lot of friends there, a lot of old friends and new friends. We are talking to the speakers who are going to be presenting at Macstock, so you have a better idea about what you will learn and who you will learn it from. This time, I am delighted to catch up with Brittany Smith. Britt, it's great to see you. Thanks so much for being there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to see you, Chuck.
Well, and I'm delighted that you're going to make it back to Macstock again as a speaker.
Yeah. I have to finish telling my family, but yeah.
You know this is being recorded and will be published, right?
Oh, okay, cool. Well, that'll do it for me, right?
That's like maybe I can help you with that. Yeah, exactly. So, as I told you pre-show, I have no idea what you're presenting, and I kind of like it that way because that way we have a very spontaneous conversation about it. We don't want you to do the presentation here. We just want to find out what people will get out of it, what they can take home after you've finished educating them. So, what is your topic this year?
So I'm talking about ways to post to social media easier using automation.
Wow. Okay.
It's a workshop, so I couldn't do it in 30 minutes anyway.
Okay, so this is one of the workshop sessions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. And I'm intrigued because this is something that I do as part of publicizing MacVoices. So forget the rest of them. Tell me what I'm going to learn.
So you might as well find out here in this format. You were one of my inspirations. You might remember that on occasion you've talked about needing to do a bunch of jiggery pokery to get MacVoices Live started every week. And I said, Chuck, do we need to have a talk about Keyboard Maestro?
Well, okay. I'll accept that.
And the thing is, there's a whole bunch of things we do that are very fiddly. And while I am sure that Mr. Terpstra could come up with something a lot more elaborate than the stuff that I do, what I do tends to be a little more user-friendly. And I've talked about this lots of times at Macstock, but automating the points that are the hardest while keeping the parts that are hard to automate more manual. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So I'm going to be talking about posting, like using a third-party thing to post to like Mastodon and Threads and Blue Sky simultaneously, or using Keyboard Maestro to make the back end of YouTube suck a little bit less. Places where you could continue automating more, or where maybe you want to give a little more wiggle room in the inevitable happenstance that YouTube changes their back end. And then if you over automated, you may have to redo it. And so different workflows for YouTube, different workflows for different types of social media, including creating clips using different tools to use in more of a promotional fashion. Just a lot of different automation tools to make it easier to share things.
Wow. Okay. So one thing I want to ask, and you hit it right on the head for me, is that sometimes when I try to automate things, they break. I mean, they break because of something else, not something I did wrong. But to your point, the back end of YouTube. And it's after a while, honestly, you just think it's easier just to adapt and move on. And so that's why I've fought that a little bit. The other thing too, though, is that there are services out there, and a lot of them, obviously have relationships with each other, especially if they're owned by the same company. And so if I post to one, I can automatically post it to others.
Yeah.
And yet I come across very dissatisfied with that experience because it doesn't take full advantage of each platform's capabilities. So can you address that through this process, the process you're going to show us?
Somewhat, right? So I use a lot of different tools, and mine are going to be the ones that work for me. Everyone is going to find their own way. For example, I treat my automations also like a little bit of a checklist. Like when you have to post to a bunch of things, either you have an amazing memory and never wonder if you missed something, or you use a checklist, or you wonder if you got it all. Like, those are sort of your choices. And automation can also be a checklist. So maybe instead of I'm going to make the mouse click on all these points on YouTube, which is very frustrating for me very quickly because YouTube will change something, or maybe I'm zoomed in more one time than the other time, or maybe there's a sidebar, different things. So I may decide, okay, instead of that, I will open my page to the correct page and give the instruction. And this part may not matter as much to Chuck as it does to me, but thereby making the task brain dead task instead of something that requires attention. Like, oh, I need to do the next thing. Or I could take myself to the correct location and then give an instruction of what to do next. And so those are some different ways I've personally combined it, even though everyone's workflows end up being a little bit different because it turns out we're all different people. I think a lot of folks benefit from seeing a very specific, or in this case, a collection of very specific examples to give them inspiration.
So that's really interesting that you're giving yourself prompts to remember things as part of this workflow, which is not something I ever really thought about doing, but it's a great idea, especially if the social media platform is a little bit complex, or maybe they've changed something recently and I want to remember to take advantage of it, or that I have to do something different than I'm used to take advantage of the new process.
Yeah. And I am the kind of nerd that loves to set things up and hates fixing them. And so I don't want to have to fix an automation every time. Like, some companies change their stuff more than others. Like my automations in Final Cut Pro, which I don't even necessarily plan on sharing unless somebody asks, those ones can stay kind of the same because Final Cut Pro doesn't change what the tools look like very often. And so they can be more automated. Whereas something like Descript, I don't know if you've ever used that, or YouTube, they love to change stuff all the time. Zoom loves to change stuff all the time too, which makes me crazy. And I've contacted them many times about this. Like, because if they change the menu title in the menu bar, like all of a sudden you broke my macro from Keyboard Maestro that was going to do a thing. I think they've actually slowed down a bit, which I appreciate a lot. But knowing where, this one changes a lot, so I'm not going to get really detailed in the automation on it because it has changed a lot. Or tools that I set up an automation years ago and have never had to touch it would be like my Hazel rules that I use for multi-camera, multi-microphone projects, or maybe just one microphone, to like rename all my footage so I can keep it organized. Those ones are rock solid. I've never had to adjust them at all, and they've just been there. It's like, somebody cast a spell years ago and it just keeps working forever.
And the changing interface is always a challenge. I mean, that's a challenge though for every program, unless they've given you an API of some kind. You're with some of these automations, you're trying to outguess them because their objective is to keep you on the platform as long as possible, not to help you get on and off quicker. So, you're fighting up an uphill battle, I'm afraid.
One of the things, like let's talk about a social media post. That's great is I have the same basic elements, right? Like I have maybe a description, an image, a link, and some hashtags. I can put those in once and then prompt different places to paste it differently. Like one of my things that I'll do is take a small video clip and I'll post it tons of different places. Well, having a ton of hashtags in LinkedIn doesn't make very much sense. So it just doesn't use the hashtags in LinkedIn. So I have the same group of information, and then it just instructions to myself about where to paste it. Because exactly like that, I don't trust this particular platform to not change their interface. In fact, I can trust them to change it frequently. And so it's just, okay, post this to the YouTube title and the Facebook title. Okay, post this to the YouTube description. Okay, post this to Instagram, post this to TikTok. And it's going to combine them the way I told them to for what I've observed about those platforms. There's no point in putting a link in Instagram or TikTok. So the link's just not there. There's no point because you can't link out anyway. No hashtags in LinkedIn, or a shorter thing maybe for Twitter. And yes, I'm going to keep calling it Twitter. Different things that you might do in different locations, because that's how I adapt for the platform. So then I am able to customize it a little bit for each platform without me having to necessarily go find the image for each one, or video in this case, or go find the hashtags, or go find the description, go find the links every single time.
Okay. I mean, I like this because, like you, I have something I want to promote on multiple platforms. And so it is, look, it's not something you can't do manually, because I have been. But I would love to automate it, to get back just a few of those extra minutes. And so, this definitely applies. And for the folks out there who say, gee, I don't know if this applies to me. Yeah, social media is what you make it. And if you can make it easier to do, fun to do, and, do a little bit, and this is way outside the scope of yours, but, limit what you see to just what you want to see, it remains an extremely useful tool.
Well, I think it might be outside the scope of this talk, but choosing to see only what you want to see is very much in my professional scope.
Yes, absolutely. And, so, I mean, is that part of the talk at all? Or is that?
I mean, it easily can, because when you're using these other tools, you didn't have to first, one of the ones that I'll use for posting, if I'm posting through a separate third-party tool, I didn't open TikTok and get sucked in, because it'll always show you the feed by, the For You page by default. I didn't have a chance to get sucked in because I posted it from somewhere else. Do they like that as much? No, but the ones that are posted in directly of mine don't perform worse, really. So, at least that hasn't seemed to make a difference in my personal performance. Not that my performance is great. I mean, I'm not here to recommend things about how to be super successful in social media, just how to make it easier to do.
Yeah, but you bring up a great point that as soon as you open any of the social medias, you're stuck with a feed of some kind.
You're risking getting sucked in.
Exactly. And of course, you and I would never get sucked in, because we're professionals. But, but that is not a small thing. Not at all.
No, it's not. We're talking about using a decent amount of willpower to move past that. And so when we're able to use another tool, if I'm not going to youtube.com first and then going to the studio, if I'm taken directly to the page I want to start on as part of this automation, I've skipped over that.
Okay, so let's talk about what I think is always a challenge whenever we bring up the word automation. And that is, people get scared. People say, "Oh, that's programming, and I don't know how to program, and so, I don't want to do this. This is not for me. I can't do it. I'm afraid of it because I'm afraid I might post something I didn't intend to post. There are a dozen different. I'm not going to say excuses, but maybe just concerns over even thinking about automation. How are you going to help people get around that, to understand that it's nothing to be afraid of, and it's actually something that is super beneficial?
None of these tools require any coding. I don't use currently any tools that have any coding. That doesn't mean that Keyboard Bistro has not been known to intimidate somebody at first, but really, for a lot of folks, the best way to learn something is to try with something else and then modify it to fit you. And so, like I have a client who's created, a pretty decent YouTube channel. And at one point I was like, do you just want mine to adapt my Keyboard Maestro macro and you could adapt it? And he was like, yeah. I don't know how much he adapted it versus making his own, actually, but it gave him some ideas to at least look through it. I guess I could have asked him, but I didn't. Now that we're here talking about it. But like having at least something to start with. Oh, okay, then this does this. And we can walk through, and I will walk through some of them. I may end up just picking like, hey, who's most interested in what? So I know how to spend the time, as opposed to like, if there's one that we don't get to, maybe somebody can ask me about it afterwards. But these don't involve coding. They do involve like getting comfortable with a program that you may not know. And I'll hit stuff in Keyboard Maestro that I don't know how to use. And they have a wiki. And they have information that I can use to go try to figure out the problem that I've been having.
I mean,
but starting from scratch is hard. Like the blank page freeze up that's normal.
And that's where I think a lot of people stop, because they don't, when you don't know what to do next, you don't know what to do next. So you just quit and go back to something that is more comfortable, and you lose the benefits of the automation.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a possibility. Depending on somebody's comfort level, like you asked about posting the wrong thing. If we're saving them to, like, let's say Keyboard Maestro, saving it to a variable, that variable is only going to include what you had. We can over automate it, and then you're always risking more like, oh, did it get to the wrong folder somehow or whatever? Like that can happen. But in general, like we're going to be picking them out. In general, usually it's going to be a little bit more manual than you kind of wish, but enough to keep, like I'm telling it, this is the paragraph to use. I could give it the wrong paragraph and then I've posted the wrong thing, but it's probably not going to be something like personal and embarrassing.
Okay. You mentioned Keyboard Maestro several times. And so by that, I'm inferring that at least some of this will be Mac oriented. Will you be doing anything that is iOS oriented?
A little bit. For social media, I do less on my phone than I do on the Mac. One of my automations for posting on the phone is to pay somebody else to do it. And that is also an option. So when I say that I have videos posted directly to TikTok, I pay my niece to do them.
But, I like this approach. Delegation.
Type.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for the ones that have the more manual touch, I didn't do them. It is my goal to help my niece automate them so that she can spend less time on them. But in general, like I'm not doing that very often. What I really like about using these tools is it's the select it once and then you can do anything with it. I've done this for a long time in my client logs and things like that. Like I told it how long. Now you can go put it in multiple spreadsheets and like you can go log those hours for me. I don't have to do that. I don't have to paste it and you can do that for me. That you only give it the information once and then many different things can happen with it. Those are the parts that get me really excited because I don't like tedious, repetitive things. I'm
not sure anybody does, especially.
I'm not sure anybody else does. No.
Yeah. So, if we can, I mean, look, one simple thing that I use is a clipboard manager so that I can cut once and then paste multiple times if I need to. And you're just taking that kind of concept to another level or two by causing it to automatically paste to multiple places. It's not the best example in the world, but it's all I've got.
Shock you to learn that Keyboard Maestro is also my clipboard manager.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. And my text expander replacement. That's a totally different story.
Yeah, that is. I've got to think about that one. That's a whole nother interview. We're not going to.
It's a whole different story.
Okay. Well, I mean, listen, I think it sounds fascinating, first of all, because it applies to me, but I want to make sure that other people will get as excited over it, because I think that they have the opportunity to use social media maybe a little bit more effectively if they're not having to spend so much time. And the lack of distraction part is that could be a game changer for some people who have no tolerance for shiny things waving in front of their faces.
Yeah. I mean, when we choose to spend time on social media, it should be on purpose and the parts of it we enjoy. Nobody sits around saying, you know what I love doing? It's spending a long time manually posting.
Yeah.
Or losing the thread
scrolling.
because I was going to post from here to here and then I just didn't.
Yep. Again, that never happens. So Mike Potter has given all the speakers codes for discounts. And so I want to make sure, because if you use these codes, you can save $50 on attending. And that's, not bad. That pays for part of your hotel room for one of the nights. So, Britt, what code do you have?
Conquer, because my business is Conquer, Devise and Conquer, and the website's conquer.consulting. So just the word conquer. Shall I spell it for you?
Sure.
CONQUER.
Great. So Britt's code is Conquer. That'll give you $50 off. Mine is MacVoices. Big surprise. That'll get you $50 off. You can't stack them. Sorry. That doesn't work that way. But look, use it. Use any of the codes that all the speakers we've had on so far and all the speakers we will be having on. The big point is that we want you at Macstock Conference and Expo. So use the code. Check out Macstock Conference and Expo.com. That's where the links are for the hotels, or the hotel, I should say, and everything else you need to know. And then book your plane, book your train, book your automobile, and get there, because we're going to have a lot of fun. We want you to be part of it. Britt, anything else that you want to say about Macstock? Because I always talk about it because it's one of my most fun weekends of the year. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, I've only been in person once, so this is my second time going in person.
Really? You've only been there once?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I know you had a good time, so that's good. You must have. You're coming back.
Yeah.
All right.
No, it's a great time.
Yeah. Well, there's so many people that, if you watch or listen to podcasts, you're going to get to meet the people, hang out with the people, and along with, a lot of other people that have common interests. My experience has been that somebody always has something to teach you, even if they're not up on stage. There's something that you can find a common interest, and they say, well, this is how I do it. It's like, oh, I didn't even think about that. So yeah, it's fun. Britt, I guess I will see you in Crystal Lake 50 something days away as we record this. That's a little scary.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. When you're not automating things, where can folks find you, and what do they need to know about what you do?
I try to help people work better. A lot of those folks have ADHD, not all. My website's conquer.consulting. And then I also have the ADHD Guild, which is a community of nerdy ADDers or other neurodivergent folks. And yeah, that's what I love doing.
Great. See you there, folks. We'll see you in Crystal Lake, we hope. And again, Britt's code is Conquer at Macstock Conference and Expo.com. Until the next time on the road to Macstock, I'm Chuck Joyner. Thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you MacVoices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CashFly at cashfly.com.